Good morning. You know me? Yes. What do you know? Don't know. Sir, I welcome you all to SOSIN classes. This is the place we provide training, mentoring, coaching the students who are appearing for civil services exam. We provide a comprehensive coverage of the UPSC, including your general studies, CSAT, and various other optional subjects. Like, we have sociology, geography, literature, and then we also have anthropology. Before I start off with anything of any agenda of today's session whatsoever, I would want you to these are some of the students, that have made it through with our, they gave us an opportunity to be a part of their journey in UPSC. See, SOSIN classes was actually established in 2006 with the title Target IAS. And a couple of years ago, we have changed the name from Target IAS to SOSIN classes. And as a part of this whole journey, we have had an incredible support from the parents, from the students. The kind of hard-working lot that we have got, not that, it's not a donkey work for that matter, but, standing by whatever guidelines we give and try to implement, put those things into practice, kind of. So we were lucky enough. In fact, it's both ways to have a good teacher, to have a good mentor, and to get good students. No, it's not a mere coincidence. It is something that is much more than that. So I think we were always blessed to have that kind of a very beautiful lot of students who could, appreciate, who could follow whatever guidelines that we give, and that's the whole thing. So finally, what it matters is you have the pudding. That's the whole thing. And in this process, currently the kind of faculty that we are having for the upcoming courses, etc., the courses that are going on, I am not elaborating much on the list of teachers. Maybe perhaps you can keep looking into the list of them. In one of our previous workshops that was held on general studies, all the teachers were actually introduced one by one in that talk by Major S.V.S. Oberoi. But I am highly privileged to be associated, to be working with this bunch of teachers who are brought from different parts of the country, the people who have always made their presence felt among the students by the way they have been rendering their services. See, ultimately what it matters is whatever we do, whatever drama we do, whatever work we do, all that is finally to see to it that student makes it through the service. And that's where we try to keep our target high, we try to keep our morale high, and we would want to stand on a higher ethical plane so that we can render whatever is necessary for the students. So these are some of the teachers in general studies. We have Indian society, we have world history teachers, and dedicated we have a team for CSAT, Mr. Jairao Garu and Srinivas Rao Garu, very highly experienced people, because CSAT has been a hard nut to crack. That's what was the comment by the students of late. So we want the students to have that very comfortable drive through the CSAT paper, irrespective of from which background students are coming, whether they are from the mathematical background, or mathematics background, or engineering or IIMs whatsoever. The pinch of CSAT has been slightly tougher, slightly higher this time. So our special focus has been on this particular area as well. And in addition to that, we have several optional subjects. Literature subject by the very senior faculty we are having, Dr. Garike Patigaru, and then geography. The same teacher we have been having for general studies also. Some of you who are already enrolled into general studies, you know him, the way things have been happening, the beautiful way in which geography is being put forth by him, Mr. Sohan Naresh. And then For sociology, we have Mr. Harshvardhan, Dr. Harshvardhan, who had been a PhD scholar and things like that. So basically what we try to do is we want to get to you the excellent teachers. It's not simply knowledge wise excellence. We want the teacher to travel along with the students so that there is a pat on your shoulder, there is a holding hand whenever you require, and I think that's what is very, very essential in this journey of UPSC, because when you have chosen UPSC as your career, the day when you have chosen, you have committed yourself, not simply you individually, but your entire family has given a commitment to the exam. And it requires a lot of commitment from all the fronts, your emotional, your physical, your mental, psychological, economic, every damn thing you have committed to the exam. And that's where, even if 2 days of going away, drifting away from your target, it would mean a lot to come back to that stream and then re-establish yourself in your preparation. So on a daily basis, regimentally pushing you through this particular regime, because we are all but human. Every time and every day we cannot be equally motivated. We cannot be equally motivated. We should keep on having some kind of a support, so that we go through this particular journey, very tiresome journey generally it is seen as, because most of the time people are looking at thinking of the finality. This journey becomes very treacherous if your steps are not properly put. So our duty here is to tell you what should be the next step that you will have to take, so that you are only seeing the next step. You are not really bothered about what is there at that end. That is our responsibility. So in order to take you there, we try to lay each and every step so that your journey is comfortable. Only thing is you should enjoy when you are studying, when you are going through this particular journey. So that's how the end will be. At the top is my name, by default it should be there, so I have written, otherwise. Now coming to this particular organization, and maybe before I talk about the syllabus and things like that, I would want to give to you information about some of the programs that are coming up in the near future. That is one on your right hand side. I mean, not for the freshers definitely, but if I'm because on the online several people must be watching, old students, current students, and the new ones whatsoever. Some of them who are writing the main examination this year, 2020 main exam, that is going to be held in January 2021. It is actually for them, this particular program is designed, a 3-day run actually. It is called Anthro Run. And in the 3 days of program, we are trying to give the explanations and gist of many of the questions that are expected, many areas that are expected for the upcoming exam. So if at all your friends are there, you ask them to avail this. This is going to be a very beautifully laid out program. There is a last minute wrapping up of your syllabus, and if at all something is missing in your preparation, those sessions will help you out. And as far as this current workshop is concerned, it is basically for this one. We are planning to have an offline program from 16th of December. I hope we are all there for that. Yeah? And online dates are also given, 23rd of December. Basically, the current talk is to give you some kind of an idea about anthropology, and I will also be giving you a broad framework, broad schedule of the classes, in which sequence we would be doing and how we are going to finish your course, and maybe perhaps in which sequence of the topics, and what is desirable from the student as a part of the course. I mean, all this we are going to talk about in today's workshop. So that's where I have actually titled it as that, What and How of Anthropology. Before I walked into the hall, one of the faculty members was asking what is the meaning of what and how of anthropology. I was telling him that it means that we are going to tell what anthropology actually means and how to study anthropology for UPSC. He was wondering, itna matlab hai wo statement mein? Kind of. So basically it is that we are going to tell you what is the meaning of anthropology and how we are going to do with it. See, basically, my journey with UPSC is quite a long one, like, from the Paleolithic times I've been there. You understand Paleolithic, so from those ages when I was here, we understand what are the stresses and strains, what are the questions people face, students face, what are the times when they are on the verge of losing the kind of the courage, the faith, etc. So that's where we try to focus on holding them, giving them whatever necessary conceptual clarity is. Because last couple of decades, whatever I was doing, writing, thinking, or maybe reading, studying, running, whatever kind of, everything was from the anthropology perspective. So majorly I have been dealing with anthropology, and in that process I have found that this discipline has that capability of changing the innermost cognitive aspects of the human, and that's where I think there is a very high influence the discipline can have on the personality of the people. See, I am not trying to here teach you anything in today's lecture. I try to present the meaning of this subject in the simplest possible words so that you know what you are going to study. That's very important. Because tomorrow you opt for this subject, and then casually if you are taking a walk in the park, somebody bounces into you, they ask you what is that you are doing, then you say anthropology. They ask you what is anthropology. You should not have a wide and wooden face. You should be able to say certain things to them. Before I tell about what anthropology is, I should tell you about how the whole thing had actually started. See, some of you who might be from outside this region, you must have come to this region for this particular course for that matter. Or maybe you are from certain remote area or geographically very far off region. You might be traveling for the purpose of job, for the purpose of studies. When you are doing this, you are coming across people who are very new, alien to you. And some of the practices in that region, maybe if you are from North India, if you come to South India, the rice everywhere is actually something that goes unbearable for you. You would want to see some bit of rotis, the ones that you might find here do not at all match with what you actually aspire for. So what is happening there? Food is something that becomes a challenge for you. Or maybe perhaps when you are going to specific regions or meeting new people, their dress pattern may be shocking for you. Their daily routine might be shocking for you. So what is happening here? When you are meeting some new people, their way of life makes you get shocked, get surprised, and sometimes maybe interested in. Are you there? So if I am taking this particular thing into mind, the beginnings of discipline of anthropology, we link it with what we call colonial rule. When I say colonial, maybe what comes to your mind is the British. Most often it is the British, or maybe perhaps in general the European populations. The European populations that might be at the helm of affairs. Now when the British and various other European populations, whether you call them French or Spanish, whatever we come across, these people, when they have started to rule the Eastern societies, maybe African, maybe Asian, maybe Latin American or Australian, far off oceanic populations, the kind of shock they have got and the kind of difference in the culture, difference in the lifestyle which they have found, this actually made people interested in knowing those people. That interest may be for various reasons. Sometimes it is only academic, or sometimes it is emotional. Somebody is behaving in a particular way, you would want to know why people are behaving in that particular fashion. So the reasons may be far and varied. So that is where British officials, administrators or people who were academicians, they were all interested in studying what we call culture, and that came to be known as culturology. That came to be known as culturology. When we say culturology, it is nothing but the study of cultures. Now, over a period of time, what happened was that this field, this inquisitiveness to study the other people, over a period of time took the name called anthropology. Here we call culturology, that became anthropology. See, people who must have tried to browse the meaning of anthropology, you must have come across this one meaning, that is study of man. But it doesn't make sense to you. When it comes to biology, that's also a study of man. When it comes to political science, that's also a study of man in a particular sense. When you look at economics, that's also a study of man in a particular sense. So this looks to be a definition that is maybe incomplete, that leaves a lot of scope for misinterpretations or different kinds of interpretations. So we are not bothered about that right now. We are only trying to understand what is it that we are trying to study in this particular field. Maybe it started with culture of the people, then it became study of man from different perspectives. Okay. Now what are those perspectives, we will see later. Now what happens is, when it comes to UPSC, this subject of anthropology has been, maybe by God's grace, has been doing good. When I say good, meaning that it has been giving reasonably high scores to the students, so that there may be a difference, it can make a difference in the final scores and where exactly you are going to be located in the selection list. So all this ruckus that you are making, all this pain that you are going to take, in spite of the fact that you have never known this word anthropology before. This is a new vocabulary that has entered your word bank, whatever. And it is in this context we are interested in anthropology, because maybe we are looking at something like 320 or 340 for those 500 marks. That's the ultimate goal. And generally what happens is, if you are having a remarkable clarity in your concepts, 300, reaching to 300 is, it is on an easier side. But in order to get the 320s and 340s, that is where your extra labor, whatever kind of dynamics that are associated with the subject, they have to be incorporated in your writings. So this is a subject that consists of both dynamic and static elements, and that's a healthy mix of understanding of what we call man or human. Okay. Now for at the moment we can understand that this is the study of culture. Initially it was the study of culture alone, but later several other things were brought into this discipline, and then the name culturology got changed into anthropology, in brief called study of man in totality. But how exactly you study, etc., there is a difference there. Now one of the students was asking this question in the morning, and this is a common question that we find among the students. We have another discipline called sociology. The question asked by the student was, are these two disciplines one and the same, or they are one and the same? See, basically when the two are same, you need not have to have two different titles for them. The fact that the two titles are there, it means that there is some difference. Definitely there are certain components in anthropology that are either borrowed or similar to something that we have in sociology. But then in terms of content, we see much more content or diverse kind of content when compared to sociology. And the same things, even if you are studying in the two disciplines, the way you study them is different, the way you try to draw conclusions is different. So do not get confused. Occasionally you might find same thinkers there, same thinkers here, but then the way we use those thinkers is very different from the parent discipline. Okay. And we are not ashamed of saying here that anthropology is a daughter discipline of sociology. Okay. And it is one of the very recently born social sciences, very young social science. Now in today's class what I am trying to do is apart from telling you what constitutes the subject of anthropology, we will also be telling you how we are going to approach. Now continuing with what constitutes anthropology, I am not getting into your syllabus and all that right now, I am only trying to give you an idea. This is a study of man, we said. In man what do we study? From which perspectives we study? One is biological perspective, the other is cultural and social perspective, and thirdly historical, we otherwise called, historical is an easier way of writing or presenting, archaeological perspective. Now these are the three broader perspectives. Throughout, what is common in anthropology is we try to know how man became what he is or what he was. How man had become what he is and what he was. So two things are incorporated there. Man, how he is becoming what he is. So you will have to understand here the terms like human, you must have heard of it, Homo sapiens, or no? Humans are human because of what they do, because of what they are. We are not trying to complicate there. Here what happens is, biologically what we study in man, culturally what we study, and archaeologically what we study. These are the three things that I am going to present to you in the next 15 to 20 minutes of class. Don't worry much, I won't teach you anything today. Because people must have thought I am already teaching anthropology and then people are starting to look at their watch. Please don't do that. No? Watches are something that you are not supposed to have on your wrist when you come into the class, because when we actually start our classes, we are going to have longer sessions, whether you like it or not. Once you have chosen, the subject, once you have chosen to be with me, you will have to bear with me. Okay? I'll have to say that in the beginning only. The journey is not going to be so very cozy, comfortable, because at the end of the day when you will have to get it to your service, we have to go through all that agony. I will start with the first one. What we study from the biological perspective of man. Every time the discipline of anthropology was trying to study evolution of man. Evolution may be of different kinds. One of the ways of evolution is how the species of man had emerged. You must have heard of it right from your childhood that maybe we and apes have a common ancestor, and how that common ancestor has become what man is today. And maybe perhaps if you belong to that genre of people who do not believe in this evolution, that one species is becoming another, maybe if you belong to that genre where creationism is something that you believe in, you believe that God has created every species, one species cannot become the other, don't worry, we have a chance for that also here. How man is getting adopted to various changing conditions. Here you study fossil studies, or we study paleontology. Your syllabus book is there with you, in that kit syllabus book is there. You can keep looking into the syllabus book. So one of the things that we study from the biological perspective, you should be looking at paper 1, chapter 1. In chapter 1, starting from 1.4 onwards, there are various evolution related topics. Somewhere you talk about apes and man, somewhere you talk about fossil evidences, somewhere you talk about cultural stages. So all that, from 1.4 onwards, what you are going to study is about paleontology and fossil evidences. This is one of the very highly scoring topics in your exam. Okay. This is very important, sir. What you have to focus in your exam, that's very, very important. Where it is, where there is a treasure of marks, there you will have to spend more time. And then, when we talk about adaptation, we are not really bothered here about whether human has come from some other species or not. Here we are bothered about how man is trying to adapt himself to changing environmental conditions, changing various other ecosystem aspects. So look at your syllabus somewhere at 9.7 in paper 1. 9.7 paper 1, that talks about ecological anthropology. Ecological anthropology. This is what we call dissection of the syllabus. You will have to know what are the major things and where they are in your syllabus. So biologically, we are talking about evolution, and evolution is also something that talks about how you are building your health and illness capabilities, health and illness fighting capabilities. That is where we are going to study how different newer diseases are coming up. We anyway have some set of diseases that are traditionally there. Okay. You may have to look into topics like 1.8, where we are going to study about epidemiology, epidemiological anthropology. This is one of the very scintillating areas in the syllabus. We would be studying what are communicable, non-communicable diseases, and how things are going to change as we are witnessing pandemic and related stuff. So because of the fact of the pandemic, we see that a lot of interest has come in the academic circles on epidemiological anthropology. So this is one other very important areas. Epidemiological anthropology. There are several others in biological studies. One other significant study is to go into analyzing human variability. Humans are not one single stock. No two faces are one and the same. No two hands are one and the same. Some of you who are dentists, no two mouths are one and the same. So you are not the same as your own blood people who are there within your own family. So when that kind of a variability is there, in your syllabus you have topics. You can look at your syllabus topic 9.5 in paper 1. You have racial studies. You have racial studies. These are some of the things that you would study. There are several others. What of human is also something that you learn from the genetics. Sir, those of you who come from maybe non-life sciences background, can I see the hands? Non-life sciences, one. Good, good. How about the others? You studied life sciences, BSc or something? Commerce? What did you study? BTech. That's a non-life sciences, no? Yeah. Engineering, I think that's a better word to ask. How many engineering students here? Very good. How about the other souls? Oh, great. So we will be requiring your services very often. Yourself? You studied what? Diploma in? Embedded systems. We are studying human systems here. Basically, almost 80% of the students, or much more than that, in the classroom, any batch, we see that people are coming from engineering background. And the beautiful thing is that they have been one of the highest scorers in the UPSC's anthropology. So when I talk about genetics and all, don't think that you have walked into a wrong class. You are very much in the right place. What we study in biological realm of man is how man was made because of the hereditary aspects. So this is a common biological knowledge that you get in the class 8 or class 9, how the chromosomes work, how the nucleus looks like, how you have become what you are because of the combination of the elements that you got from your mother, from your father. That's a very beautiful way of knowing your existence. So as a part of genetics, what examiner is interested in is the very contemporary issues and very contemporary knowledge, such as genetic counseling, We have certain terms. Sir, look at your syllabus, chapter 12, paper 1. We have this term called eugenics. You find it? That paragraph has got 3 or 4 lines, eugenics. And in topics like 9.3 and 9.4, when you go to the end of that list of topics, all these I am talking in paper 1 only, you find this word genetic counseling. See, when I was talking about how of anthropology, how useful it is, etc., we will be concluding on that towards the end of this class. But then, as a part of applications of anthropology, currently we have topics such as genetic counseling. I mean, that is a very buzzword these days. It is not simply a theoretical thing. People have been using it practically for their own purposes. See, some of you, if at all you are from South India, you might be marrying your first cousins, first, second cousins, whatsoever. Cross cousin marriages are very common. Any married people here? Married people? No? Very good. You are married to your cousin? No? Okay. Generally what happens is in South India, cross cousin marriages are very popular. Not simply in one generation, across the generations things happen. So that's actually a feature where we see a social pressure and a fear from the biological side. In the books of biology, you must have read that, close marriages, close cousin marriages or bloodline marriages, they are not really good. They might lead to some kind of abnormalities or the other. This you have studied in your discipline. As a growing child, you have come across these. But then social pressure is there. If at all you say that, no, I do not want to marry my cousin, your social respect will come down. So you will have to weigh between your social respect and the biological things that you are going to face. And that is where genetic counselors are being, contacted. And the second major thing, that's something like, we study in criminology. We have a very beautiful other topic in our discipline called forensic anthropology. Look at your syllabus, chapter 12, paper 1. Chapter 12, paper 1, you find this topic called forensic anthropology. One of the very buzzing sub-discipline these days, with criminology, with criminal offenses increasing of all kinds, whether they are hi-fi crimes on the internet, or maybe perhaps they are things like rape and murder and kind of things, or high sounding burglaries, bank offenses, whichever you take. In these contexts, forensic studies have become very, very popular, not simply in anthropology, in general also. In India also, the institutions going for forensic studies, providing forensic studies, they are also increasing. So it means that this discipline has a lot of utility in the future. If you are a policeman recruited into police services, you would have to use this particular science day in and day out, the forensic sciences. And it is not simply that. Recently we have seen our own city being flooded very badly. I mean, that kind of a flood, it was like, a roadway to death and hell kind of. Several families lost their near and dear. Their houses were flooded and nothing is left. And several missing people were there. After several days, you find the bodies in a very dilapidated, mutilated ways. Then you will have to confirm whether this person is one of the persons that is asked in the missing persons list. Then you would be conducting various DNA studies, and finally you are going to conclude based on the DNA matches. So this shows that the discipline has a lot of practical relevance. It is not something that you are simply studying for the purpose of making 340 in your exam. Okay, sir. And I'm so sorry. And the beauty is that there is so much of diversity in the content. That's what I generally tell the students, be regular to the class. Because kabhi aise lagega, today you have entered the class, some topic is going on, caste system we are teaching. 1 week you took rest in the house, you came next Monday, you see that fossil evidences are going on, and you think that you are in a wrong class. Being constantly there in the class is very important, because we will be slithering from one type of a topic to the other, and there is no boredom in the whole process. You see several new things. Some of the topics might be familiar to you because you came from the life sciences, and some of the topics might you find them familiar because you came from sociology or social sciences background. So there's a mixed bag of things that keeps the people always on their toes, and that kind of enjoyability is there in the class. And you don't worry, I will give you the required entertainment that is necessary in the class, because ultimately what I look for in the class is entertainment. Because you see, making people sit with the same kind of an energy level for 3 hours is not an easy thing. You watch movies? You watch movies? Movies are a mix of so many things. There are action scenes, there are songs, there are emotions, there are various other things, and South Indians especially, we are good at adding all that masala that is required to make the movie. And it should not be, and in the theater you have an interval in between, a popcorn break is there. We won't have that break. Without a popcorn break, if I have to make you sit through for 3 hours in the class, it requires all the kinds of energies, all the tools that are necessary for entertainment. You don't worry about it. Okay? Towards the end of the class, I will tell you what you should be doing in the class. So here were some of the things related to study of biological things. So I'll continue here. Now in the genetics, we will be studying chromosomal aberrations. That is a popular topic, chromosomal aberrations. And we will also be seeing certain very basic things about DNA, that may be DNA and RNA kind of comparisons, or maybe protein synthesis, and maybe perhaps genetic corrections, DNA profiling. These are some common terminologies every educated individual should be knowing in the contemporary times. You are not going to do a Nobel Prize kind of a work there, but then simple things you will have to understand. What you will be writing in the exam is how these things are put to practice. Like for example, a random example I have given here of consanguineous marriages in South India. This is not a random example. When you are going to write in the exam, you will pinpointedly mention the particular groups of people, maybe Nayars in Kerala, or maybe Tamil Brahmins, or somebody else, and particular families who are going for consanguineous mating, and what is the frequency of occurrence of particular kind of an aberration. Maybe Down syndrome, you must have heard of Down syndrome babies. So what is the frequency of Down syndrome populations in such kind of people who are going for consanguineous mating? So this is not a random example. We would pick examples from the living communities and try to present in the exam. So those examples, those studies conducted by anthropologists is something that is relevant for your exam, rather than going deep into the DNA and digging the genetic matter. You are there? So don't worry, if at all you are coming from non-life sciences background, this is not going to be a Herculean task to understand the basic aspects of biology. Okay? Now, coming to the other ones. Study from the cultural perspectives. Study from the cultural perspectives. Here also, we are interested in studying what is the culture, how we became what we are, how of the process of establishing our cultural being. Not simply that, how to study people. When I say how to study peoples, what I mean is how to study the cultures. And what brings change in culture. Several other things. I will try to put, I read out what I have written there. The areas that we are interested in studying in anthropology is culture, various dimensions of culture. What actually constitutes culture? I have said in the beginning of the class today that when you are visiting people, seeing their eating habits, seeing their lifestyle kind of. So when I am talking about that, what constitutes culture may be their familial styles. Look at your syllabus, chapter 2, paper 1, 2.3 onwards, 2.3 onwards. You find very interesting topics of marriage, family and kinship. Marriage is something that always energizes people. You are always interested in knowing and going through the whole process. After the process, you will become a jnani. We will see in the class how you can become a jnani by studying anthropology. You need not actually go through the process of marriage. I will tell you something interesting here. I know half of the Janta opts for anthropology looking at these titles only. And more than 3 to 4 months of time people spend on studying marriage only. But what is required you will have to do. Whether UPSC is giving such a high importance, what is the depth to which you can go. These are the things that you will have to look at. See, at one point of time I was not interested in talking about marriage in the class. For a generation, I did not deal with marriage in the class. I would only give a handout and ask them to read and be happy. But something interesting had happened in my life. I got married. When I got married, I started to understand the positives, the vagaries, the pains, the pleasures of marriage, and then I started to talk about it in the class. Okay? So I think it is all the experience from which we can actually understand. I am not asking you to get married immediately in order to write better answers in marriage. No, but not that. Nevertheless, this is one of the things. When we say familial anthropology, we call it familial anthropology. All those three put together, family, marriage and kinship. These three put together we call familial anthropology. We would study across the cultures, across the world cultures, how these institutions are there, whether their importance is increasing or reducing, what are the factors that are responsible for changing. See, at one point of time joint family was considered to be a real boon, and later we were happy with nuclear family. And once again we started looking towards the joint families, how the things have happened in the recent few months. We started to look for somebody to talk to, somebody to share our feelings. We did not have anybody. Nobody was looking at us. We were affected by corona. Nobody was looking at us. We were almost like untouchables. And this was something that has brought back the importance of immediate family and the family members. So maybe perhaps at one point of time you were very much interested in the God, and then you left him, and God thought that nothing doing, you will have to remember me. Let me create something in the world so that you come back to me. I don't know. I didn't say anything. But then what of culture also includes study of religion. Look at your syllabus, chapter 5, paper 1. Okay. It is not simply that. What constitutes culture is your economics. Your economic systems, what you produce, how you produce. You can look at your syllabus, chapter 3, paper 1. And you also would be studying how people are governed, how people are controlled. Look at chapter 4, paper 1. You have political organizations. Somewhere there, you will find this word called social control. There are mechanisms that are important to control the behavior of the individual. And when I am saying controlling the behavior, we also study the psychological side of the human. It is not simply individual. When you go to psychology, you study majorly individuals there. Most of the time, the cases are important for you. We would be talking about the meaning of case, etc. People here, when you see a case is something that has a problem. If there is no problem, there is no case. If you look at a policeman, there is a case, meaning something has gone wrong. Something that is wrong becomes a case. If everything is fine, there is no case there. So what we are going to study here is several case studies, and that is where we are going to see in the political aspects and economic aspects, social control mechanisms. All this becomes a part of your culture. How they became what they are, this is one. We would be studying how evolution has happened, how man started becoming what he is, why different cultures are different from one another, because after all, what you are today is the result of several things that must have happened to you. Your personality is the result of what you have undergone all the years. Maybe what must have happened in your early childhood. You will not be able to disentangle yourself from what you must have experienced. Now, some of the examples that we are going to see, look at chapter 6, paper 1. As you run through the syllabus, in chapter 6, paper 1, as you run through the syllabus, you will come across something called psychological anthropology or culture personality school. You find this? Culture personality school. So here we are going to deal with how individual personalities, how group personalities are created because of what they have undergone. Very, very interesting one there. And then you will be able to understand why we are what we are, why you are what you are. Sometimes you know pretty well that what you are doing is wrong, but you will not be able to control yourself. You will not be able to regulate yourself. Maybe because you didn't train yourself for doing that. So we will see, once we start our classes, everything will be in black and blue. You will be able to share your agonies, your pains, your pleasures, your happiness, your problems, and then you will give me an opportunity to go through your own stuff so that you become a case for me in the next classes. Generally, that's how it becomes. But then, by studying all this, by going through all this, we will be able to have a better perspective about ourselves, why we are what we are. And we will be in a better position to understand why the others are what they are. And that's where the ultimate objective of anthropology is. So here, how to study people. This is the entire chapter 6 and 8 in paper 1 we call anthropological theory. We call it anthropological theory. That is actually the heart of anthropology. That's where we see how to study the other people, how to study the cultures, how to form opinion, how to conduct a research. See, even when you are in the government, you are on certain research projects. You will have to analyze why a particular population is not ready to vacate their land for a project. Maybe, a dam is there, a reservoir, or a mining project. In the urban areas, you have metro projects. People are not ready to give up their claims on their lands or whatsoever. And you can have a better perspective by going through an anthropological process, by not simply being an economist. Don't simply throw money at the people. Every time money alone cannot give you the result. Every time money alone cannot win the people. Definitely we have money today, the money that we have, the currency that we have, we call it what is called, we call it all-purpose money. It's an all-purpose money. All-purpose money is you can throw that money anywhere. to buy anything that you want, including love and affection. But then every time that may not be possible. So we would be seeing in this discipline why people are not really ready to give up their claims in spite of the fact that we are trying to give them the kind of compensation. So there is a practical utility of that. Then when we look at the other things here, the change in the cultural aspects here. Change in the culture may be because of what we call, I don't intend to kind of change in the culture because of the factors of acculturation and we call enculturation. I am not going to deal in a great detail there, but then I will give you a couple of ideas about it. What we study in anthropology is when we are meeting people of different cultures. Say for example, you got married. You are a Tamil, you married a Bengali. Okay? You are a Tamil Brahmin, a Bengali Brahmin you married. You thought that I am Bengali, you are Bengali, we will have a good life. But then you found that Tamil Brahmin is different from a Bengali Brahmin, lifestyle is different, food habits are different, every damn thing is different. But don't look at it negatively, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to exchange cultural aspects. Some of the cultural things you are learning, some you are providing to the other. So two terms I have used there. One I said acculturation. Acculturation is when you are meeting the other culture, you are learning from the other cultures, is acculturation. Enculturation is as a part of growing up. You are learning things from your parents, from the way traditions are given to you. That is enculturation. So what you are today is a mix of enculturation and acculturation. This is going to be the most important aspect that you are going to study in cultural anthropology. There is a third dimension that I have mentioned in the list of things, that is historical or archaeological aspect. Historical and archaeological aspect. As a part of history also you study this historical element whatsoever. But then when it comes to archaeological aspect, we go much beyond the history. You understand, right? History begins where history had begun. When? What is the difference between history and prehistory? और बताइए. What is the difference between history and prehistory? Anything that comes to your mind? They were moving from here and there. Okay. और बताइए. What is the striking difference between prehistory and history? Is Indus cultural area called a prehistory or history? Is it a prehistoric site or historic site? Prehistory. We come across another word called proto-history. That's a proto-historic culture, which is interspersed between prehistory and history. Generally, history, when you start to study history in NCERT, Ancient History book, one of the chapters in the beginning is Sources of Indian History. In the Sources of Indian History, we talk about several literary sources, several rock edicts. No, you remember all that? So what happens is history is that realm of time for which sources are available in a written form, meaning where you started to write, that is civilization. Beginning from the study of civilization, we have history. So history is that age, historical studies are those stages where from writing had started. Proto-history, you have a writing, but you haven't deciphered. So Indus script still not deciphered, we call it proto-history. Prehistoric, so in archaeology, most often we depend on prehistoric evidences, whether the evidences may be material evidences or they may be, they may be non-material evidences, they may be biological evidences. There are several, fossils of man, fossils of, several animals, or maybe fossilized houses are there, fossilized rivers are there. You would be in geography studying fossilized rivers, which are the fossilized rivers in India, kind of things. So all that becomes the subject matter of archaeology. In a brief, this constitutes your syllabus. Okay. And whatever you study in paper 1, in paper 2 that becomes an application. Okay. Generally what we do is, we do in a combination. I will give you a couple of examples. Because we are in archaeology, I would do with archaeology only here. Look at your syllabus in paper 1 from 1.5 onwards, and then as you are going to 1.7, 1.6 and 1.8, you find the names of lithic ages, you find the fossil man. You have somebody like Astrolo, you have somebody like Homo erectus, various other names are there. Don't get petrified with the names, that is only the jargon. In order to show that we are very knowledgeable people, we use these names in front of the people with other optional subject. There is nothing great about it. That whole lot of things you study in 3 days only, the entire lot of fossil evidences. But then that is very scoring. So when we are doing this, go to paper 2. In paper 2, chapter 1.1, 1.2 and 3. You find almost similar terms there. You have Paleolithic ages, you have Iron Age, you have all those. So what we do is, when we do things in paper 1, we learn all the basics, all the global things, then we extend that to India. There will be a comprehensive writing of the answer. Similarly, go to chapter 11 in paper 1. Chapter 11 in paper 1. There you find interesting things such as menarche, menopause, demographic theories. You find there demographic theories. Demographic theories is something that is a very favorite area of the examiner. Demography, population studies rather. So whenever we are doing chapter 11 in paper 1, go to paper 2. In paper 2 you have chapter 2. Population structure of India, growth and various other things, how population structure of India is changing, what are the factors. So factors are explained in paper 1, but application with examples, with statistics and Indian statisticians, all that happens in paper 2. This is only a tip of the iceberg. You have several things that you will have to study in combination of paper 1 and paper 2. Nevertheless, when we come to paper 2, I will have to give you a brief idea of that syllabus also. We generally divide that entire syllabus into 2 major components. When we come to paper 2, we divide that into 2 major components, not much of an elaboration, but first part we call study of Indian society. Study of Indian society. For your batch, we are going to start the course with Indian society, and the second part we call tribal society, tribal studies. And first part is from chapter 1 to chapter 5, second is from 6 to 9. In fact, the first chapter is mostly with archaeology and things like that, but technically we keep it in the Indian society studies. And if you go into Indian society studies, what the chapter with which we are going to begin your course will be chapter 3. Look at the syllabus, paper 2, chapter 3. We are going to study about the basis of Indian society. In the Indian society, we have so many things to study from. That may be ashram system, that may be purushartha, that may be the concepts of karma, and various other things related to caste and the systems related to caste, how caste has been influencing Indian society and how caste is changing, and various other things. Very, very practical oriented things, kind of. But then we will be learning a lot of Hinduism in the process. The students who are non-Hindus, don't think that we are thrusting Hinduism along with Hindutva. We are not trying to do that. we are going to study the concepts of Hinduism, because we also have to see how the other faiths are functioning. Look at your syllabus chapter 3 as you go down in that chapter in paper 2. You have various other religions also, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism and Jainism, how they have impacted Indian society. The only interesting thing here is that he tries to interchangeably use Indian and Hindu. That is the major problem there. Whenever he is saying Indian society, it is by default Hindu society. అది మర్మగర్భంగా చెప్పడం అంటారు చూడండి, అలా చెప్తాడు అనమాట, చెప్పి చెప్పనట్టుగా దాచి దాచి చెప్తాడు. But then he in fact means Hindu and India one and the same. It is not simply that. Go to chapter 8 in paper 2. There you will find how various religions have impacted tribal society. That may be Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, blah blah. So what you will be doing is, there is a stream, there is a string. We would be starting our discussion when we come to religions. When we come to religions, we will do chapter 5 in paper 1. What is chapter 5 in paper 1? Chapter 5 in paper 1 is about religion. How religion originated, what are the functions, who are the functionaries, who are the priests, what they should do and all that. So we would start with paper 1 chapter 5, we will learn the meaning of religion, and then we will go to chapter 3 in paper 2. There we will talk about how Hinduism is impacted by the other religions, and then we go to chapter 8 in paper 2, where we will learn how different religions have impacted the tribals. Did you understand? So if you are doing all this, you would be comprehensively studying the topic of religion in your syllabus. That is how we would be framing your syllabus. ठीक है sir? Any questions? Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Meaning you want to know. అది మాట్లాడదాం. That question I take. We will talk. And anything else? Relevance of the subject. और बताइए. Any more questions? How about working professionals? Meaning, how about working professionals means, can we study this subject, not no, is it that? How about in the sense, is it that how to study the course, is it that? Should you do in the class or not? Okay, and you look familiar. What's your name? Praveen. Your brother was also in anthropology or what? No? Okay, and what's your question?
Why we always intend to show Hinduism as India? Why not others?
That's a very complex topic, sir. We will be discussing in the class. Here, I'll give a one-liner that everything depends on the majority. Because about 80% of the population is Hindu, we try to project this as a Hindu country. That's in a simple terms. All politics related to that we'll do in the class. How about answer writing? Optional answer writing. So I'll take these 2-3 questions, sir. But before that, let me finish off with the thing that I came prepared. I prepared for something, no? I should tell that. So I finish whatever I wanted to tell you, then I will start answering. I thought you are going to ask questions related to the thing, but you had come with some questions in the mind that came first. Nothing wrong about it. Those questions also I will be taking up. Let me just show this to you. I know that you will not be able to make out these small letters, but maybe perhaps if you are seeing online, because the Zoom you will be able to, I will help you out. This is basically to give you the sequence in which we are going to do our syllabus. Okay? Now we are here, we are here 5th of December, and we intend to begin our course on 16th of December. The scheme that is laid out here is with a schedule of 2 hours in mind, but actually you will be having 3-hour sessions. So you would start at about 10 in the morning, 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, beautiful time. you can have sumptuous breakfast and come. By the time you are relieved from the class, you would be damn hungry. You can go have a beautiful sambar rice, sleep in the afternoon. Don't do that. First of all, sambar rice is very dangerous. Those of you who are coming from other parts of the country, you would become, whatever, within a span of 3 months, you would see changed, physiological entity of yours. Anyways, 3 hours, but then this I have placed considering 2 hours of this thing. So if at all that is the case, you would have about 98 lectures, if at all it is a 2 hours thing. But if it is a 3-hour program, we would be able to make it within 80 classes. Okay. So if I am starting on 16th of December, 80 classes technically should end somewhere by 15th of April. But then considering your upcoming preliminary exam, so generally what happens is people who are taking coaching now of the optional, they might be opting for 2022. Mostly it is 2022. But then there might be certain souls who might be planning for 2021. Taking them into consideration also, we will have to see to it that well within the first week of April, we should be completing your program. And for that purpose, what we might do is some of the weekends, that is only Saturday, not Sunday, we don't touch your Sundays. On some of the Saturdays, we would be having sessions. They may be extended sessions where instead of one, we might have a couple of sessions on Saturday, so that we can finish your program well within 7th of April. So your cooperation on that count would be highly appreciated. Okay. Now let me go back. So when I am beginning your course, I mean this is a tentative program, sir. अब ऐसा नहीं कि तुमने ये कहा था ये पहले पढ़ाओगे kind of. Generally what happens is every batch we begin with a different lot of syllabus. In some of the batches we start with anthropological theory. In some batches we would start with tribal anthropology. Some cases we start with social anthropology kind of. And based on the tempo of the students, sometimes what happens is, I mean it's not that 100%, but based on the larger feel that we get from the crowd. Say for example, I started with Indian society. Then I thought that okay fine, this crowd is a highly mature crowd. It will be able to take up tougher things also. So maybe perhaps I would start talking archaeology immediately after Indian society. Nevertheless, I try to do this way. So all these areas, these are all from, as you could see here, I am doing with paper 2. So initially I am starting with paper 2, Indian society, Varnashrama and all that stuff. And when I have to do with religion, as I told you, we are going to do with religion. So when I do with religion, 5, 3, 8, that is the formula, 5 in paper 1, 3 and 8 in paper 2. So this we are doing in the beginning here. Then I am starting with physical anthropology. This whole lot of thing is about physical anthropology. So early in the course itself, we are going to do with a lot of things related to physical anthropology and archaeological anthropology. These two are done together because what we study in archaeology is a combination of biological evolution of man. Okay? And then just have a look at that. So we are continuing with biological anthropology within this whole thing. I am reading out for you. So all this is human fossil evidences, then you have 9.7, 9.8, and in between a small diversion I have taken for census. I told you in paper 2 census has to be studied, and that has to be linked with chapter 11 of paper 1. So this whole lot of it for physical anthropology, all this till here you would be doing physical anthropology, all this stuff. Okay. So early in your course, meaning by the time technically if at all we are taking 2-hour course etc., by the time we are coming to chapter class number 40, or maybe if it is a 3-hour course, by the time we finish 30 classes, you are finishing Indian society, you are finishing a good lot of biological anthropology. Okay. These two are diverse things. People who savor society, they are doing caste. with that kind of enthusiasm, and the people who may be coming from biological sciences, etc., we make you do the sociological thing. There's no choice for you anyway. And the second lot of it, a lot of things on biological anthropology we are finishing. Then we would be going to these are all social anthropology. Till here you have social anthropology. You would be doing economic anthropology, you would be doing political, you are doing the familial anthropology, and then kind of 49 is a buffer class, I mean just in case, always there is something like a spillover. Then we are once again going to biological anthropology. So you can see that good lot of sessions we would be dedicating to biological anthropology, so that students who might be thinking that we will not be able to do that fast, I should be able to give them time. Say for example, in the human genetics 9.1, look at 9.1 paper 1. There is something called genetic study of man. There are interesting things like twin studies are there, foster child studies are there. Any twins in your house? In your relatives? Twins? No? Twin studies, and then foster child studies, various other cytogenetic studies. When we do these, along with the practical applications and practical examples, that will take some time for students to understand how twins are born, kind of. And 9.2, 9.3, if you go into the details, we would be looking at what is the meaning of a Mendelian population, how inheritance happens, what are the various population genetics things. For example, isolation. Isolation is a very interesting concept in anthropology. There are certain island populations, Andaman Islanders are there, or maybe Australian Aboriginals are there, Far East American Samoans are there. These were the people who were closely studied by anthropologists. Because of they being geographically isolated, they have maintained their virgin properties as far as their genetic characteristics are considered. But then if you look at mainstream American population or mainstream Australian population, a lot of jumbling had happened, a lot of intermixing of races had happened. So no true race had remained there. So isolation is one, and then migration. These two are related topics. So we are going to see with the practical examples from the contemporary world how genetics can be put to use in physical anthropology. They require some time, so I have to give a lot of sessions there. After that, I am coming to anthropological theory. In your batch, I have pushed anthropological theory a little back. In the previous batch, we started with anthropological theory. But remember, sir, with whichever topic we start the syllabus, are you all fine? You're not bored, right? Are you? No? Even if you're bored, you should not say. No? Kind of, you should say it's very interesting. This is only the beginning of the whole thing. Every class you'll get the question, are you fine? Are you bored? Kind of. Every time you should give a smile and you should say you're fine, kind of. You should make that habit. After 21 days, automatically you'll see, even before I ask, you tell you're fine. With whichever topic we begin in the class, there will be a discomfort. It's a new relationship. It's a new relationship. You have studied mechanical engineering all through your life, dealt with machines. Now you are dealing with humans, human emotions, human body kind of things. The things that you were never interested in. You left biology long time back in history. You didn't want to get back there. But unfortunately, you're doing that once again. Or you never wanted to study things like, history or archaeology. You left them there, but now you will have to study. Whichever topic you start, there will be a discomfort. So first 1 week is going to be very challenging for you. There might be times where you would feel very low, you would want to quit. But this might be the case with any subject that you might be choosing. You might be choosing some other XYZ subject. Everything is new to you. Fortunately or unfortunately, you are forced to study social sciences after doing engineering and masters there. And hence, Telugulo cheppalante ఏ రాయైనా, only thing is that you should have a sharper stone so get your mind right. That whichever subject you are going to study, you would be married to it for a long time. You would have that kind of an affection. Don't make it an overnight stay. Make it a long time stay with them, and then see to it that you would start enjoying the subject. Okay. So that's how things are. Then we will be going to tribal anthropology. I have placed tribal anthropology towards the end of this particular course. This is more or less the scheme with which I am starting. And coming to all these questions. Sir, there are several people who try to opt in the online mode. If you are in Hyderabad, okay, you would be taking offline generally, but suppose you are a working person and the timing doesn't suit you, you might opt for an online program. Because you are nearby, you can take a prior appointment to clarify your doubts personally. Okay, that advantage will be there. But if at all somebody is there far off from here, but that is the general case that we have people studying from Assam or Guwahati kind of places, and then maybe somewhere from Srinagar. We have good lot of people studying from Jammu and Srinagar. Every batch we have good bunch of people doing from there. You can actually have a doubts corner from where we would be clarifying your questions. Okay. And if we think that that is sometimes you ask very long question where I feel that talking is better than writing. I myself might give a call to the student to talk and to interact, or maybe perhaps if you think that you would want to talk to the teacher, you can just give a call or leave a mail to us that you would want to talk and schedule a call. Sometimes students say that whenever we want we should call, kind of. That's not really possible, because you see 24 hours I am not on duty. I am a married person, you will have to understand. I work in the limited hours, and that too when so many students are there. You don't believe, doubts corner every day I take up 100 to 150 questions. If one day I am not taking up, the backlog that I will have. So even if I am answering each question in 3 minutes, 150 questions, you can understand how much time. And though I would want to be always on the call, but my job is not a call center job. So we would fix up a time for maybe 3 days a week, this time to this time we would be scheduling the call. So we would actually be throwing mails to you saying that whoever is interested, you can schedule your call. Aaram se baat karenge. Kind of. I also love to talk long calls, kind of, because my husband never calls. So I would talk to the students. Don't worry about it. Ye ho gaya, and then you can perhaps take the online thing. Generally kya hota hai na, in the classroom you have 10 to 1, strictly you be there. But for some extreme reason, your health was very bad or something happened, kind of, you have an exam or something, you give us a prior notice that these couple of days I will not be available, so that we can schedule a kind of a studio for you where you can sit and watch that day's lecture, and then you can make a note, whatever. That provision we give, but don't make it a habit every time. It will be difficult for you. In the class, along with the others, if you are listening to that 3-hour session, that goes painlessly. Because others are there, you are busy looking at the others, passing time, wo ho jata hai kabhi. But on the video you will have to sit for 3 hours disciplined, kind of, very difficult. And for the online students I will have to tell this. Class में तो हम आपको discipline कर देते, हम आपको सोने नहीं देंगे, kind of. My voice is not so melodious that you can sleep also. And sleeping people are always my target, kind of. And that's why in my class people learn to sleep with open eyes. That's a different thing. I'll also train you in that. As far as when you are looking at the video sessions, kind of, see to it that every class you pose me doubts. After every class you post 1 or 2 questions. Okay? That, make it a rule for yourself. Whether I am clarifying or not, that's a different story. I will do, don't worry. But then see to it that you are keenly watching the videos and you schedule a time. So generally what happens is, every video will have a 10-hour window for you. Generally people don't see a second time. Pehli baar dekhna hi badi baat hai, na? So second time very rarely. Some lecture is there which you could not focus much. Ghar mein function chal raha tha, fir bhi you were posing that you were studying and you couldn't do well. So second time rarely you would watch. And occasionally you might have to pause to write down. Some slides are there, some information is there, very huge information, you will have to pause and write down. ये writing बहुत important है, we will talk about writing also. So in that video of 10 hours, so if it is a 3-hour class, maybe you can get 2 or 3 views. In general you can do that, you can repeat and you can. But then you will have to schedule your class when you would want to watch clearly with the time, because it is not a live streaming class. It is not a live streaming class for the flexibility of people like him. If at all it was possible for him, he would have directly attended in the offline only. He will not be able to do it because that's a working time for him. So suppose you would want to watch a class at 5 o'clock in the morning, stick to that time, 5 o'clock in the morning. Come what may, be there at the desk. And the entire lecture has to be completed at a single stretch. ऐसा नहीं कि आधा घंटे के बाद मम्मी चाय लाई थी, चाय और बिस्किट आराम से एंजॉय कर रहे, फिर बाद में बैठा, नाश्ते का टाइम हो गया, फिर खाने का टाइम हो गया, throughout the day. Don't do that. Think that you are in the class, always have your earphones. And then see to it that everything you write down. Class में भी ना, there are 2 kinds of things. I am answering your question. What's your name, sir? हाँ, Bhagwan. Bhagwan, okay. What did you study, Bhagwan? Biotechnology, great. Which university? So generally what happens is, in the classroom 2 types of writing happens. One is when I am explaining things, you will take a running note. Don't think that I am giving some kind of a random story, random example. Nothing is random. Whatever examples, whatever explanations we give in the class, you will have to write down. In the first class, I will tell you how to write down. That's a different thing. I will tell you how to make a note, combining your running note and the dictation. Dictations are very important, sir. For a generation, I did not dictate. But then later I realized, when my brother was writing the exam, then he told me the importance of having a dictation, because running note आप कभी लिखोगे, कभी मूड नहीं हो तो नहीं लिखोगे, no? Kind of. But that is mandatory. Dictations are actually created in a manner so that you can take that to the exam. You should know how to frame your sentences, what kind of references, examples have to come, how the layout of the paragraphs is, how the layout of the tables, what pictures have to come. So all this, keeping in view all these things, I would give you the dictations. Generally what happens is, what I discuss in the running matter will not be there in the dictation. So it should be a combination of those 2. At least a 30 to 40% newer things will be there. ये हो गया. In addition to that, you would be provided with the books that would be provided from us. These 3 are the major sources for your preparation, sir. Class note is irreplaceable. You cannot have any substitute for that. Most of the time people get to those scores with the classroom understanding only, because we give the conceptual understanding, we give you, make you write the note. Don't rely on your neighbor for your dictations. Neighbors write horribly. What mistakes they write, we don't know. Your own mistakes you can carry on, but their mistakes, no. That is double papa actually. One sin is fine, their sin also you are buying. Don't do that. So you would have class note, a combination of dictation and an explanation based thing. Thirdly, you will have your books. Generally what happens is, suppose I have started with Indian society, I am starting. In the class I will give you explanation and the note, go home, pick up the same topic from the material, you finish the same day. Finishing the same day is very, very important, sir. Because I will be in front of you, either in the virtual mode or in the classroom offline program. I will be there with you so that immediately your doubts can be clarified. Daily, regimentally, in a disciplined way, finishing your preparation is very important. Otherwise, it will be like some students are always there in the class who would wait for the teacher to finish the program of 80 days or 100 days, 120 whatsoever. Then they would start studying. That should not be the case. Because every class I would be asking you to attempt some questions. You should keep on attempting questions. After every 20 days, we would be giving you one assignment. Assignment is a set of questions which I will be explaining in the class, discussing, that you would practice at home for the self-evaluation. Once that assignment is discussed, you will be having a test to write. Generally what happens is, early tests people take seriously, later tests kind of don't do that. Every 20 days you will have an assignment, you will have a test coming up. This will happen throughout your course. Okay? And apart from those sources of notes, if I think that something new has come, some organization has published a new paper, new research paper has come, or something else has been published recently in the form of a new book, or some research related case studies have come, I would be providing in the form of PDFs. Okay, along with your, generally what happens is, if at all you are having an offline program, lectures you will not be able to view on your portal, but additional material we would push through the portal. Whatever PDFs I will be providing, you will be downloading the PDFs, not the videos. Videos are non-downloadable, that's an offense. If you try to do that, we know what to do it. That's a different story. We should not be talking about that because you are all law-abiding students, I know pretty well. So, okay, all those PDFs, including the test documents, you should download within the prescribed period. Suppose it is a 80-day program, your portal will be there, I think 150 days or something, within which you should be submitting your answer script, you should be downloading the PDFs. Later you don't ask me, because I am very bad at protecting those, preserving them in the form of, this batch, class number 20, I have given this, I don't do that. So it is your responsibility. After every class, whatever PDFs I have given to you, download them. So this is the combination, Bhagwan. This is the material that you should be. Over and above that, अब इसके बाद भी कुछ दम है, कुछ और energy बाकी रह गया. Then I might tell, see, read this particular book. Rarely I will ask you to purchase the books. Only if it is very essential, I will ask you to purchase the books. But there might be some books which you will have to read before you go to the interview. Those I will tell you. This is the book that you will have to study before your interview, so that in the interview, they might ask questions. They might ask questions, which books you have studied, social classes material. Don't do that. No, I want to live.
How Kaka report will help?
We would see, in the tribal studies, how things will be. Kind of in various tribal problems we never ask you to study for 498 pages report. We don't do that. We will tell you what to study from there, from each topic what has to be studied, whatever essential things are there, we will guide you. This is the one you will have to study, which websites you have to visit, kind of things. So that is my duty, I will tell you. Or kya tha? You asked some question. Relevance to the general studies. As far as the relevance to the general studies in terms of percentage marks, etc. is concerned, not much. In the areas of social sector, it will be of use to you. Like, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe problems are there, caste related issues are there, OBC problems are there, or women issues are there. Constitutional provisions for these people, or any new law has come, Inheritance Act is there, for example, or tribal forest rights related issues are there, displacement problems are there. These are the sectors where anthropology can be of use to you.
Is there any difference between offline course and online course regarding the personalized care? Maybe like checking answers.
It will be like a distant love and a close love kind of. Phone entani premistavu kada. But otherwise, we try to do the justice. Because for everybody it is not possible. For working people, some people are there in Hyderabad, like me Peremanarma, Pranitha. Some people like Pranitha are there. This is not a new case for us. From the beginning, we have been having people. In spite of staying in the same city because of commutation, because of job, because of college, etc. But then we try to address in such a way. Generally, the reason why we don't do the live lecture is we want the editor to take care. Suppose I have written something on the board. In the live session, it may not be possible to zoom it that way. Whatever presentations are there, we edit them properly so that the visibility is not affected, and then we try to send it to the student. So we try to take care in such a way that the online student would get the maximum benefit. Because I was seeing my own son struggling with the online classes. I was so astonished in a bad way to see the way classes are conducted. And you people are adults, but we take care so that you don't feel that pinch. And generally when you watch the lectures, watch in a solitude. Don't sit in a marketplace and do that. See to it that only my voice is heard. నేను మాట్లాడితే మీ చెవులు మాత్రమే పనిచేయాలి. So see to it that you focus. Otherwise, it's inevitable. When it is inevitable, you can't help it. We'll try to maximize the benefit. This question has come from Mr. B.N. Prasad. He says, ma'am, should we read any basic things before we attend your classes? Not required. Because then it will be unlearning problem. Generally what happens is when we start any new subject, how we introduce the subject to a new student, there lies the difference. The subject should be introduced in such a way that you would want to study. What basics have to be given, in what ways, that I will take care, don't worry. Only thing is be present mentally and physically so that we can internalize the things in you. Internalizing is very important. So I will take care of that, don't worry about any basic books. Anything else?
When shared portal will be available for 150 days. Is it possible to complete all the assignments?
Yeah, you should be able to. You should be able to. It is almost double the time of the classes that you would be doing, and then generally tests you are going to share with us after the course, so we give, the time is incorporated in that, you will be able to do, because it has been a time tested thing, not that for the first time I am giving that kind of a time whatsoever.
But if glimpse is there near that, we have to start by April.
See, generally, if at all I say April mid I am closing my session, if at all we think that, for the prelim majority of the students are there, it is like entire batch we stop and restart after the thing. So that we will have to, on a technical side, take a stand. You understood? We have we have completed the classroom program, and after that I get your question that after that I will have to jump to the prelim. Then I will not be able to write the answers. Then I will have to take a call based on, if at all most of the students are looking for doing the test after the preliminary, then I will have to take a call to pause your course. To pause your course and restart the course after that time. So that provision we will try to give. In a case by case, I do not know whether it is possible, but then from the technical side we will try to take a clearance based on that. If at all you are writing your preliminary exam, say 1 month of time is left out for you on the portal, for example, that 1 month you can utilize after your preliminary exam to submit your scripts. Okay?
Do we have the personal mentorship when we write the answers?
There is a separate mentorship program, sir. As far as this is concerned, we will evaluate. Suppose you are in the offline mode, you are coming to me and talking, that's a different story. And even in the online mode, you might be asking questions and doing that kind of a stuff. As a part of the course it is done. But altogether a different mentorship program, we have separate other programs. Like, year-long mentorship program is there, where, every week we give some question paper, 150, 200, 250 marks like that. That's a well laid out program again. Every year we start that, even this year we have mentorship program. So long time test programs are, those are different from this kind of a thing. But that we don't recommend to the students at this level. First you will have to learn your subject. Once you finish your program, only after that we will be able to you will be able to take that mentorship program.
My question is, do we have the possibility for evaluating our answers which we write? Like, what are the points to be required to write?
See, generally as a part of evaluation, for example, as a part of your course, you have 8 full-length tests we are giving. When we give the evaluation, along with the evaluation, we give the detailed comments. It is not simply that after every test is given to you, we have classroom discussion of that test. So in that, a generic way of see what has to go into the answer, I will explain. And I expect the student to submit the script as soon as possible, so that your performance can also be brought into discussion of that paper.
For full length test, is there any small test for 1 hour like instead of full 3 hour test?
Generally the 20-day tests are the smaller ones.
Those will be corrected by you people.
Mostly I will be doing, sir. Mostly I will be doing, and of late I started training people for evaluation, because suppose on a daily basis I am getting 70, 80, 100 papers. It is a maddening thing. So I am training students, if at all a spillover is there, the senior people are there, people who are in service are there, who really did well with the optional subject. So if at all such kind of a load is there, I would transfer to them, provided that once they submit the answer script to me, I would go through it once again and then I will send back. Say for example, for somebody they have given 0 marks, for somebody they have given negative marks. I will have to see whether it is there, or for some question no comment is written, I will have to see why a comment is not written, kind of a thing.
Assignment should be evaluated by ourselves.
No, assignments, that is self evaluation, I would be explaining in the class.
Form for current affairs on the daily basis or some regular basis from the institution side.
See, it is something like this, based on what is happening now, I will be adding, okay? And in addition to that, at a later point of time, I will tell you what magazines, what journals you will have to study. And then from time to time, some kind of information we would be posting on various social media channels of ours, like Telegram channel, some new report has come or new study has come, I will try to put in. This is one. And then from this year, previously I did not do this anthro run kind of a thing, where different case studies are put together for a short run kind of a thing. This I would want to continue in the future also, not for 3 days but 7 days or something like that, where proper refining can happen for the students. You must have studied something 2 years back or 1 year back. I would try to add up whatever researches have come and new questions are coming up, kind of a thing. That could be one way of doing it.
I'm going to touch upon the linguistic aspect of anthropology.
Meaning what?
Linguistic side. Like we have the branch of linguistic anthropology.
Oh, that we would, as a part of syllabus we do. This entire syllabus I cannot spell out. That's why I did not use that word anywhere. But we would. Whatever is there in your syllabus document, that should be done. Sometimes what happens is that certain things which are self-explanatory, we would give a brief explanation, maybe at about 5 to 10% of some topics, which we will be circulating in the form of a note, and we will give an assignment to study and practice. So whatever offline mode of classes will be there, we strictly would be adhering to the norms of the limited strength or whatsoever kind of social distance norms kind of. Sticking to that, we would be taking admissions. So half the capacity only we will be filling. Beyond half the capacity, if you are trying to take an admission, you would be put in the online mode. Okay, sir? Should we call off? We will be attaching a link also. Even for Anthro Run, I would be attaching a link to the video. You can. It is also there in the website. You can. As far as the fee structure and the admission formalities are there, you can talk to the counselors in the office immediately after your admission. If you are in the offline program, generally what happens is your admission is considered to be complete once you finish submitting your admission form along with the required photographs or whatsoever, and then whatever papers they want you to submit. Once the submission is done, then they will give the books to you. If at all you are in the online program, the books will be sent in the courier to you. So based on in which part of the country you are, it might range between 1 week to 10 days kind of. So the idea is that, I will come back. The idea is that today is 5th, 16th is the course. If at all by the beginning of the course books have to come to you, you should finish your formalities so that it would take that 1 week of time for you to reach.
We will have any discussion on previous things?
On. As a part of the course we would have, sir. For example, I take up caste system. So in the previous courses, in the previous tests, some questions might have been asked in UPSC, so those we will take up. Not that the entire 25 years of papers will be done in the class. वैसा नहीं है, trickier ones we will pick up, where students would find it difficult to frame the answers. That will be the focus. Direct questions you would anyway be able to, but the indirect ones, difficult ones we will take.
Yours continuous, sir. Class.
Other than relieving yourself, any other problem? లేదు కదా, అలవాటు అయిపోద్దమ్మా. స్టార్టింగ్ ఒక 1 hour, one week కూర్చున్న తర్వాత you would automatically get it. Seats are comfortable, right? Comfortable. You can even doze off comfortably. I don't think it will be difficult, because if I give a break, it would be, we will be wasting our time in readjusting. Not less than, though if we say that 5 minutes or 10 minutes break, 20 minutes will be gone, which we do not want. If at all you are feeling stress at any point of time in the class, you can tell me. We can discuss certain things which are less strenuous and which are more entertaining, so that some content will be going on without wasting the time. That 3 hours immediately I won't start in the beginning. First we should make you use it to 2 hours sitting, and once you get used to that, we will gradually increase. So don't worry much. Leave all your worries outside the classroom, and when you are in the class, you just enjoy the subject, learn the subject, discuss, ask questions, get clarifications. The idea is that you should not leave the hall without getting the doubts clarified. See to it that maximum amount of questions you ask in the class only, and the same question might be there in the mind of other students also. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Don't think that any question is too small. It is not like that. Question may look to be very simple. Many times simple questions have difficult answers. So positively, in the offline mode, we would be seeing you on 16th of December, and whatever date was said in the online mode. Generally 1 week of difference we give, so that our videos are processed properly, kind of. That 1 week time we take. We don't go beyond 1 week, basically. We don't want it that way. Can I go? Have a great time. Thanks for being here. It was really beautiful, I must say. After about 8 months of 8 or 10 months of not seeing many faces in the class, it was like a life without life. Because for me, classroom is the life. Classroom has always been my life. No? Seeing the faces of people who are happy, angry, annoyed, whatever kind of, with the faces it becomes easier for us to deliver the stuff that we would want to. So be there, no? Let us chill, have a good time.